the Tristen Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristen Law, retired pro wrestler, and today, I'm your host. Somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion. That's what Triple H told Booker T before WrestleMania 19, a line that still stings 20 years later. Booker T, a five-time WCW champion, beloved by fans, was told directly and publicly that people like him don't belong in the WWE. Well, today, we're asking the same question at the heart of Dr. David L. Shabazz's new book, Pro Wrestling's Black World Champions. It's the third edition. We're talking about who really deserves to be champion. Today, what we are going to do is we're going to revisit Booker T versus Triple H, dig into representation in pro wrestling, and look how stars like Swerve Strickland, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill are reshaping what a champion looks like. Like I said, I'm not alone. To my side today is Dr. David L. Shabazz, professor, author, pro wrestling historian. Dr. Shabazz, welcome to the Tristen Law Show.
Thank you, Tristan. I'm glad to be on here.
I'm glad to have you. So let's get right into it, right?
Yeah.
So you talk about in your book, you open with the words from Swerve Strickland, "My champion is black." Why was that the right moment to begin this edition with?
You know, this book is all about the pro wrestling black world champion. So that was just appropriate because he had just won the AEW World Heavyweight title. He had just joined the elite ranks of those few black heavyweight world champions in professional wrestling. So I thought that was certainly apropos for this particular book.
The thing that I loved about your book, and thank you so much for letting me get a copy, and if you're looking for a copy right now, go to the link in the description. I have copies of the book there that you guys can click the link, purchase the book, check out the book. It's something that's great for your coffee table. I love the book. When I read that, and it was like, for me, it's all about representation, right? And a lot of people don't understand how important representation is. It doesn't matter, but to a lot of people, it really matters that when you see somebody in a position to where you want to be, it starts getting your wheels turning. My mother always told me that if I ever wanted to be president of the United States, it was something that I can do. And then years later, a guy that became president of the United States, he looked just like me. What did something like that mean for you?
I mean, that means everything. You know, it's all about the representation, is all about the mentality. I mean, we can take a different spin on it. They said years ago that nobody can run the mile in less than 4 minutes. Sir Roger Bannister, once he broke that 4-minute mile, then like the next year, like several hundred people did it, you know, because it was in their minds that it could not be done. So yes, representation is very important. Black audiences, people need to see a black champion to know that there's an opportunity, that I have the ability to rise to that level and win that championship. Just like with even the highest office in this particular country, United States of America, Barack Obama. Even though Shirley Chisholm had run before, Jesse Jackson had run before, others had run, until Barack Obama actually won the presidency. Now people see, okay, this is a possibility for me. So representation is absolutely important.
Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill won the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships in Lyon, France. What did their victory say about where wrestling is today?
It was really great for them personally to win those tag team titles. I was really expecting them to win because they were such a dominant team. But the sport itself, going overseas, I mean, I think it was very significant. And it speaks to it actually being, you know, a world title, that they actually won this in France and not in the United States, that people are actually defending those titles worldwide against international competition. And I think that was just great for the women themselves and for the sport of professional wrestling.
So a lot of people, Dr. Shabazz, I'm not sure how much you get in online and see what people are writing online. But a lot of people write sometimes that they feel like Triple H isn't doing great with the African American black wrestlers as compared to Shawn Michaels in NXT. What is your take on that?
Triple H, I have mixed emotions about him. I have not met him personally. I don't know him personal, so it's only what I've seen. But he's one of those. He comes across as one of those little jokester characters that I don't particularly like. That type of person, just to be honest. That character doesn't sit well with me. For example, he and DX had this little spoof of the Nation of Domination where they dressed up in blackface. Yeah. Why in the world would you do that? That speaks to your character. You can imitate somebody without dressing up in blackface, knowing how much that hurt black people years ago, the minstrel shows and everything, the Jim Crow. Come on, why would you do that? That speaks to his character. And so, yeah, I don't have much. I've never met him personally, but the character that's portrayed on television, the choices that he made, because he can make different choices if he wants to. I think he's certainly a racist. I really do.
I think that a lot of the wrestlers. So for me, when I wrestled, right, because I'm a semi-retired pro wrestler, and for me, one of the things that I never wanted to do, I never wanted to be stereotyped as like the hood guy. I never want to be like Crime Time. I want to be like, there's other things that I like. Like, in case you don't know, hello world, hello planet Earth, black people wear a lot more than the hood. There's a lot of us that like country music. There's a lot more, there's black people that I know that like to hunt. Not my thing. I'm not cutting a deer in the woods. It's not my thing.
Right.
But it's just like, I never want to be typecasted into that. So for me, I felt like it was always hard for me to try to get out of that role. And I tried to stay, as the Tristen Law. That was the name that I use. That is my name that I use when I wrestle. And for me, I felt like it was so hard for me to try to transgress for myself because people always typecasted me and saw me as a certain thing. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that happens. Like you were saying, I mean, there are black people who hunt, black people who hike, black people who ski, and so you'd be surprised at the things that we do and that we enjoy doing, just like any other people. So there's so much more, and I know the point that you're making. Everybody doesn't have to be stereotyped. It's like they have no vision at all. It's almost like cutting a promo saying, "I'm going to kick your butt." Really? I mean, is that the best you can do?
Right.
And that's the way it comes across, like everybody has to be Crime Time, even Street Profits.
Right.
Come on. Why does everything have to be a hood representation?
So your book, Pro Wrestling's Black World Champions, the 3rd edition, it includes black tag team champions because we're talking about Street Profits. It includes the black tag team champions for the first time. Why was that expansion so important for you?
I thought it was necessary to add the tag team champions in there as well. The first 2 editions did not have those. It was just the singles heavyweight champions. And so, it originated as my brother's book. And he wrote the first one to kind of go back in time. He wrote it for a magazine. They commissioned him to write an article on Black World Champions. And so that one article that he wrote for, I believe it was Kayfabe magazine. I'm not sure, but that article grew into an ebook that he put out as the first edition. And so when my brother passed in 2020, I rediscovered that ebook and I was like, whoa, okay, this will be a good tribute to my brother, because there have been, at that time, there were 13 people that were in that edition. And so, okay, a few more people had won the championship. So I was like, yeah, this is something that I can do to expand. I can kind of pick up the torch, if you will, and put that book out. So I did the 2nd edition in 2022, and because a few more black people have won the championship, it gave me a reason to update it and put out a third edition. I was thinking, okay, what else can I do to make this edition different? And adding the tag teams, I thought that would make a good addition to this one, as well as the that rhetorical piece I started with about Triple H and Booker T.
So, whether you're watching this live or on demand, I want to know from you guys that are watching, who was the first champion that you felt that really truly represented you as a fan? When I was a kid, Dr. Shabazz, you know, representation, I didn't even understand representation. You know, I am a first generation American. Both mother and father are from the island of Jamaica, Wagwan. And, you know, for me, it was just like I never really understood representation until I become a much older adult. Until maybe in the last like 5 to 10 years, I really understood how representation meant for me. Like for me, my first champion, the first person that truly represented me as a fan, for me, was Kofi Kingston. The reason why I say Kofi Kingston was because I was going through a thing at the time to where I was a part of an organization. I was the only black marble in a jar full of white marbles, and what happened was that they just decided that, you know what, they didn't want this black marble there anymore, so I left. I was forced out.
Wow.
And the same exact thing, at the same exact time Kofi Kingston was going through his trial and tribulation trying to become a champion. And we know it's a story, but that was my first champion that I felt truly represented me. So for you, I want to know, who do you feel truly represents you as a fan?
For me, it was Ron Simmons. When Ron won that WCW title, I mean, that was just something that was unexpected. It was to put it in a way that people may understand. It was like Barack Obama winning the presidency, though that was, you know, more serious thing that he won. But it was that kind of euphoria around it because you did not expect that to happen. Even Ron didn't originally expect to win that title because Vader was in a feud with Sting at the time. And so, you know, Ron Simmons was really like a replacement, and he comes in, you know, come in to work and find out, okay, we're throwing you in the championship match tonight against Vader. You know, so, you know, it was a lot of genuine emotion around that moment because he didn't know. People in, you know, boys in the locker room didn't really know what was going to happen until, you know, it actually happened. And so, yeah, I mean, that was for me when Ron Simmons won the title from Vader. That was it.
And of course, when you ask who deserves to be champ, you can't ignore one of the most controversial matches in WWE history. Up next, we're going to revisit Booker T versus Triple H at WrestleMania 19. Dr. Shabazz, why did you choose Booker T versus Triple H at WrestleMania 19 to open your book?
I just really thought that was appropriate. You know, when we, you know, his comment, Triple H's comments on who deserves to be a champion. You know, someone like you doesn't deserve to be a champion. And this book being about the Black World Heavyweight Champions, I just thought that, you know, that was really appropriate, you know, because Booker T is the most decorated wrestler in WCW history. I mean, he's won probably like 25 or close to 30 belts within just WCW itself. So, I mean, he was the standard. He was the franchise. I mean, people would think that, you know, Ric Flair was, but actually Booker T's won more titles than even Flair in WCW. To
help add some frosting to that cake, Booker T is a 4-time WCW champion. He became the 5th time in WWE. He was a 6-time WCW World Television Champion. He was a 1-time WCW United States Champion and a 10-time WCW Tag Team Champion. And he was the 9th WCW Triple Crown Champion. And when you're looking at Triple Crown Champion, he was the last Triple Crown Champion, but when you're looking at Triple Crown Champions, you've got people in there like Ric Flair, Lex Luger, Sting, DDP, Goldberg, Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, and Scott Steiner.
Yes, that's great company. I mean, when you talk about, the kind of competition, especially that he had to go through as a singles, and certainly the tag team Harlem Heat. I mean, they beat the best of the best, Sting and Luger, Steiner brothers. I think they even faced Ming and Barbarian one time. I mean, they fought the outsiders, Hall and Nash. The best of the best. They held their own, and so. As far as tag teams, those are my guys, man. Harlem Heat. I mean, they really set the standard, and they were really trying to protect their image of being strong Black men, and I really like that as well. And that's one of the reasons why. And Stevie Ray has come out and said it. That's one of the reasons why he did not actually wrestle in WWE. Of course, Booker T went on, and he eventually did become the champion, and he won the same championship that he had, the belt that he had in WCW, which I also kind of pointed out that he really didn't win the WWE championship, though he won a world title there. It wasn't the oldest and the most prestigious in that particular company. And I have issues with that as well.
So since we're talking about, the championships, right? The WWE championship, which I think that's the one that we all grew up. Well, me personally, growing up in the New York area as a kid, that's a champion that I always wanted to be. I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, they won it, and I want to win it too. But like you just said, Booker T didn't get the opportunity to win it. So in your view, Dr. Shabazz, what truly defines who deserves to be a champion? Is it fan support? Is it their work rate? Is it politics? Or is it something else?
It's a combination of all of those factors. You certainly have to have the enough skill, and that's performance skill, because a lot of the guys are not really technical wrestlers. But, if you can perform and put on a good show, the crowd comes out and really supports you and gets behind you. That's definitely a characteristic that's going to make you a champion. You also have to have the politics on your side. I mean, if the promotion does not push you, if they don't give you that push, you're not going to be the champion. So they have to support you as well. And your ability to defend yourself, obviously, if you're the world heavyweight champion, you go out in the store. I mean, because people think that wrestling is fake, and fake is not the correct word to use. I know what they're getting at, but it's scripted. It's not fake. Those guys actually wrestle and perform, and the shots are real. A lot of those, especially if you're talking about somebody like Vader, Van Vader. I mean, he was really fighting, and Ron Simmons had to earn that title from him. And that's just the way it was, because these guys are real. A lot of those guys were former football players, so they are used to taking hits and taking bumps. So that's nothing to them. They obviously don't want to hurt each other, so they do pull certain punches in a certain way, especially if it's a straight punch, because they're not trying to hurt their opponent. But the outcome is scripted. But those are all of you have to be able to put on a good show for everybody, and the people in the back, the politics, the bookers, they have to like you, because that's the only problem. Well, I won't say the only, but that is one of the problems with it, because bias can come to play. And, years ago in the territories where they would say that, a black person doesn't draw enough of a crowd.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, do you remember seeing Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, compete against Sailor Art Thomas years ago? I mean, the big box office draws that they used to have. Buddy Rogers also, he defended both the United States heavyweight title and the world title against Art Thomas, Bearcat Wright, Bobo Brazil, and Bobo actually beat Buddy Rogers for the NWA world title. It was a gimmick match, so he he returned the belt because Buddy was supposedly hurt, and it was one of those gimmicks. So the NWA does not officially recognize that title reign.
When people say that, when they say that black people don't draw, when you were talking about everything about the pro wrestling, like I said, I've done it. I've drawn. I was always a heel. Because I always, to me, I always felt that being cheered was easy. Because I something a heel would say. I think I'm the nicest person that I know. That's something that's really heelish. But but for me, I always felt that it was harder to make people, hate me. Like I worked in customer service at the time, and I just had to be nice to people, even if they were mean to me. And I got the opportunity that when I was a wrestler, that I got to be as mean as I wanted to be, with barriers, of course. And I felt that I always drew. So anybody who says that black people don't draw or didn't draw, you know what? They should be paying attention today. There are a lot of people that are black people, Hispanic, whatever, that are not just the typical norm of the champions that can draw, but I just feel like maybe they don't get the opportunity to draw. Maybe they don't get the opportunity to put themselves in that position. But Dr. Shabazz, fans say that Booker T should have won that night. Do you think that WWE underestimated how much the outcome would hurt long term?
I do. I think that I don't know why they wanted to stick with the script, because the audience definitely wanted Booker T to win. And usually, like in similar fashion, what they did with Kofi Kingston, the Kofi Mania,
that's right,
where they had him go through a series of pretty much beatdowns, where Kofi had to prove himself to be champion, and after going through all those trials and gauntlet matches and everything, he won the title. And that's the payoff that was supposed to happen that night. Especially when Triple H started insulting Booker T and going below the belt. And in case the audience, if they have not watched that particular promo or remember that promo, he talked about Booker T, your nappy hair, on a live episode of Monday Night Raw. And, it was like a cringe-worthy moment. Like, did he actually say that on TV? And so it's one of those things where even recently, where The Rock came back as the final boss, and he had gotten into the mix with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. And we could tell that the Rock was probably going to take over the bloodline, but he could see, the big buildup around Cody Rhodes, and the fans were really behind Cody. So he decided to change it.
Yeah, it only makes sense. You got to do what's best for the business.
Yes, and that's what I think should have happened. Even if Triple H was scripted to win the match, I think at that moment, though, they should have changed it, and the big payoff would have come by allowing Booker T to take the match, take the victory that night. And Triple H, of course, could have won it back later. But that particular night, after you build it up like that and beat the person down, everybody is pulling for the underdog. The champion is not supposed to win when you bill it like that and promo. And so that was my issue. They should have changed the ending.
Well, speaking of should Booker T have won, we got a poll going on right now, and the poll pretty much says, should Booker T have beat Triple H at WrestleMania 19? 75% of the people watching live right now say yes, while 25% say no. Looking at the chat right now, we got Brian Dunlap. He checks in, he said that the match shouldn't have been for the title. Neither Triple H nor Booker T were bigger than The Rock versus Stone Cold. What do you think about that? I know you got to go back in the Rolodex to think about it and feel the feelings. I get you.
Yeah, that's to kind of go back, but that was the again, they had two belts at that time.
They did.
That was the world heavyweight title. That was the belt that they brought over from WCW when they bought them. That wasn't the WWE championship. So yeah, it was a different match.
Well, I mean, I kind of cheated at the whole entire question because I had the opportunity to read it and think about it before, so maybe that wasn't a fair question. But I'm here with Dr. David L. Shabazz. He is the author, I said, of Pro Wrestling's Black World Champions, the 3rd edition. And listen, this isn't just a list of names. It's stories, essays, and histories that make you think about moments like Booker T versus Triple H in a whole new way. The link is right in the description, and I want you to grab your copy today. Now that we've talked about Booker T and his story, but this question, who deserves to be champion, it stretches all across wrestling history, and we can't avoid talking about the late Hulk Hogan. So, Dr. Shabazz, when you look across wrestling history, how often have black wrestlers faced not just the question of if they could be champion, but if they were even allowed to be seen as one?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those, that's still the question out there. And I don't know why professional wrestling was so late or so slow recognizing that, you know, the black wrestlers had the talent and they could draw.
Oh, I can tell you why.
Yeah, I mean, look at other sports, football, basketball in particular. There are, you know, so many black athletes that basically dominate, you know, those sports. So what do you mean we can't draw?
Right.
I mean, so there are white audiences and other, you know, other ethnicities who are in the audience who are paying to see these athletes perform.
You're
so
right.
It's the same with professional wrestling.
I think with professional wrestling, right, it came over from boxing, right? Boxing was, you know, non-blacks, and then all of a sudden black people started coming in there and started beating the brakes off of people. I guess that's what happens when you treat people bad for so long. They have all this pent-up aggression. So then they went over to pro wrestling to where they can control the narrative. Even though if you still ask me, I still think that boxing is a work. I don't think boxing is 100% legit, but that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about your book and who deserves to be champion. And right now, WWE is under Triple H leadership. It's in the Paul Levesque era. Is WWE changing the definition of who deserves the top spot as compared to the Vince McMahon era?
I don't really think so. Not the way they should. I think they are doing a lot better, but I think that's because they have competition from AEW. And because when AEW put the strap on Swerve Strickland and got a lot of attention for that, I think that's when WWE realized that, okay, we need to start recognizing some of the black champions. We haven't had a black champion in a few years, so we need to give them a chance to win the belt. I think that's what they recognized because they had competition. And that is the beauty of competition. Competition makes people work harder and become aware of what they're going on because they may have their own biases that they're used to abiding by. But competition makes you just more sensitive to what's going on and what the people actually want and not what you're trying to project yourselves.
Well, we can't talk about race in pro wrestling without Hulk Hogan. I did say that I was not going to talk about Hulk Hogan ever again. Anybody that my longtime listeners, you know, Fernando is here, and Fernando's probably going to say, Tristen, you said that you were going to talk about Hulk Hogan again. You're right, but you know what? It only fits. So my question is, we can't talk about race in wrestling without talking about Hulk Hogan. So let me ask you directly, Dr. Shabazz. Have you forgiven Hogan, or do you forgive him in life or only in death? What is your take on that?
Well, you know, I can't really say that I've forgiven Hogan because I was never really upset with Hogan. And the reason for that, which may shock people, I enjoy professional wrestling, but I was not a Hulk Hogan fan per se. And when you say fan, that means a fanatic, somebody who follows the person in everything they do. I did not follow Hulk Hogan on social media. I did not watch Hogan Knows Best. So this whole thing about his daughter dating a black guy and him saying the N-word, I heard about that, but I never actually heard him say it. I don't know, did he say that on his TV show or whatever, which I did not watch. So I really don't have the background to have a position on Hogan about that. I would say that he probably would not have, and I'm speculating that he probably would not feel that way if his daughter was dating, let's say, one of Shaq's sons, or, you know, another popular Black guy who he has worked with. He's worked with, you know, Black celebrities. So I don't think he would have said that if, you know, if she was dating. And I don't know the young man who she was dating. I really don't know, you know, much about that whole situation. Because I wasn't a fan. I didn't follow him like that. I didn't watch everything that he put on.
And, you know, I've had an episode before of the Tristen Law Show to where people were, well, Black people were upset with other Black people. Like, how could you, you know, how could you not be upset at Hulk Hogan? And I was telling people in that episode that it's okay if you're not upset at Hulk Hogan and you're Black, because some people might have forgiven him. Some people may have, like you, Dr. Shabazz, may not have ever heard about it, so it didn't impact you. You may have only known Hulk Hogan as the red and yellow guy. You know, for me, I looked up to Hulk Hogan, not as a fan. I never thought Hogan was a great wrestler in America. I thought he was very charismatic. You know, I felt that he was a great dad, as portrayed on Hogan's Knows Best, between him and Rev Run. Those are the two guys that when I said, you know what, when I become a dad, I want to be just like them. And when I heard that, Dr. Shabazz, for me, I felt like I was betrayed. But, you know, I respect the contributions as a semi-retired pro wrestler and the host of the Tristen Law Show. I respect the contributions that Hulk Hogan has made to pro wrestling. But everything else, I throw it out the window. But, Dr. Shabazz, we've looked at the past. Let's now talk about why the third edition matters today. Why does what legacy do you want this book to leave behind? In the book that we are talking about is Pro Wrestling's Black World Champions, the third edition. It's available now. The link is in the description.
I want people to understand this rich legacy that Black performers have contributed to the sport of professional wrestling, and also to recognize that there have been so few of us to actually win the coveted World Heavyweight Championship, you know, from a major respected promotion. And so that's very rare in and of itself. And, you know, again, and that's one of the reasons why I also added the tag teams to this one as well, because I thought, you know, there was really great. That's really a great accomplishment, even, you know, just as much as the singles performers. And, you know, there are other champions who have been great champions and who have done great work that are not in this particular book, like Ahmed Johnson. Ahmed Johnson was the first Black person to win the Intercontinental Championship at WWE. And so, but because that wasn't the world title, he's not in this particular book, though he is profiled in my brother's original book on the sport, Black Stars of Professional Wrestling. You know, he is in that one. This one was just really trying to single out the heavyweight champions and show, you know, just how few and far, you know, we are in winning that, and just kind of celebrate those accomplishments, because that is a great accomplishment when you have to think about it's more than your skill, it's your drawing power, it's your attitude, it's your character. People are looking at all of those kinds of things because they tried Tony Atlas at first, and Tony was right there with Hulk Hogan. Tony press slammed Hulk Hogan. He was about to win the belt, and then somebody in the back decided, no, we're not going to put the belt on Tony, and we're going to push Hogan. And so Hogan got the push instead of Tony. And they looked at Butch Reed, because Butch Reed and JYD were selling out, especially throughout the Mid-South. I mean, this was two Black guys fighting, and they were selling out crowds in the Mid-South. And so you know, it's so much more that goes into it. So you really have to appreciate the people who were able to rise to the top, and that the promotion got behind and helped to push them to be the world heavyweight champion.
I know that we're running a little short on time here, so we're just going to, as they say, we say in the pro wrestling, we're getting ready to take this home. But Dr. Shabazz, what do you hope wrestling fans take away after reading this third edition of your book?
I hope they're really going to have that appreciation, again, for the champions. I hope they're going to understand what we have to go through. And that was, just a part of, that was the inclusion of, the WrestleMania 19 with Triple H, with someone like you doesn't deserve to be a champion. You don't understand why you're here. You're not here to be a competitor. You're here to perform. You're here to dance. You're here to entertain people like me. That's what Triple H said. The guy who's right now basically running WWE, that's what he said. That's the same guy who dressed up in blackface, imitating The Rock, and other wrestlers of other races don't have to deal with those kinds of things. And so it's really important to understand the struggle and appreciate the groundwork that those pioneers laid for the Naomis and the Bianca Belairs and the Mercedes Moné to actually, the Bobby Lashleys to win those titles now. There was a great sacrifice that the Trailblazers did. And it's still so few of us. So I want the readers to understand the struggle and appreciate the struggles that the Black wrestlers have had to go through to become the world champion.
So for me, I think one of the most important questions I want to pose to the whole entire audience, whether you're watching this live on YouTube right now, whether you are watching on demand because you had to work, you had to do something else, you couldn't be here, or you're just listening to this audio only. What do you hope fans in 10 years will say about today's champions? Dr. Shabazz, I'll present that question to you first. What do you hope fans in 10 years, it'll be 2035. What do you want them to say about today's champions in 2025?
I want them to say that they raised the bar, especially when you look at, take the females, for example. Mercedes Moné, when she was Sasha Banks in WWE, she was really committed to being much more than eye candy. She was committed to being respected as a wrestler in the ring. And that's even evident today. While she's in AEW, she has 8 or 9 different belts that she's won. And so she's just collecting them. But it's because she really worked hard for that, and it was really wanting to be respected in the ring for her skill and for her talent. And that's what I hope people will look back and say, hey, they set a standard for not only the Black professional wrestlers, but all professional wrestlers. They were setting this standard that of excellence for everybody, and that's what I hope will. What they'll look back and say about these current professional wrestlers. That's what I hope they see.
I think for me, what I want people to say about today's champions 10 years from now, and I pretty much echo the same thing that you said, that, that they changed the bar. They raised the game. And like you said, not just for the Black wrestlers, but for everybody, they raised the game. Because what people don't know is that when Swerve Strickland is champion, it's somebody sits there and just writes the story and gives somebody the opportunity to be champion. But in order to be that champion, to take that belt from Swerve Strickland, you kind of got to be in his tax bracket. Swerve Strickland, I don't watch AEW often, but when Swerve Strickland is out there and they're doing the dance, I'm not going to lie, I'm doing the dance too. That's my thing. That's my most favorite thing about AEW. When you ask me anything about AEW, I can't tell you that. And I know people that work there. Looking at the chat one last time, Fernando says that Tony Atlas should have had a run with the WWE Championship. And you, Dr. Shabazz, you actually echoed that as well too.
Yes.
Fernando says that he is a wrestling fan because of Hulk Hogan, and he said he agrees that Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks, she is on an excellent run right now.
Yes, I mean she's unstoppable, and I'm pretty sure she is going to get the AEW Women's Championship at some point. Now, time is Toni Storm. She's got an excellent program going, and it should build up to it. And but I do think eventually Mercedes is going to get that title.
Of course. It's only a matter of time. Dr. Shabazz, I want to give you a moment right here. I want to give you a moment to tell everybody about your book. We're going to tie it all into your book. Tell them about your book. Tell them the passion behind it, because, one of the things that I do here is passion. My passion is to talk about pro wrestling and to build a community. So talk to my community, have them become a part of your community. Tell them about your book, why it's so special to you, how they can get it, and how they can find you on social media, so that when you release the 4th edition, they can get it.
I mean, yeah, this book was really a labor of love for me. I was right there with my brother from the start when he first wrote Black Stars of Professional Wrestling. So, I've been there with him throughout everything. And with this particular one, I'm a scholar and a researcher. And so I did a lot of research into this book, a lot of going through a lot of documents, watching a lot of interviews, reading a lot of books. I personally read Tony Atlas's book, Too Much Too Soon. I read New Jack's book, and a couple of others on pro wrestling itself, and not, in anybody's individual biography. I interviewed Ron Simmons. I had the pleasure of interviewing the first Black World Heavyweight Champion. I also interviewed Ric Flair for this book, because, Flair has a certain unique perspective, because Flair was in the ring with a lot of the top Black performers back in the day. And the person who actually put Flair over to get his first title was Bobo Brazil. And Flair was really, really thankful, for what Bobo did for him. So yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both secondary and primary research. I worked really hard on this. I talked to a lot of historians who gave me a lot of information, because, we wanted to fact check and verify. And but it was a good process, a good labor of love for me. And I really think that, I worked hard on this, and I think the fans are going to really enjoy reading those stories, because a lot of the issues that the Black performers went through, a lot of performers of other races also have to go through as well. This is a pure wrestling book, and it makes a contribution to the wrestling society. And if anyone is interested, you can go to my website, davidlshabazz.com, and that's spelled Shabazz. That has links to all of my social media accounts. You can purchase the book there. You can purchase it either from my website, or the links there will take you to Amazon and Barnes & Nobles, any of those bookstores. You can get it in your local bookstores. I mean, I have an international distributor, so if it's not on the shelf, they can get it there in your local bookstore. So you can find it wherever bookstores are sold worldwide.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Shabazz, I really feel like this, that wrestling is built on moments, some that we cheer, some that we boo, and some that make us uncomfortable. Triple H versus Booker T at WrestleMania 19, it wasn't just a match. If you ask me, I think it was a message. I want everybody to look at Dr. Shabazz's Pro Wrestling Black World Champions, the 3rd edition. It reminds us that history isn't just about who held the belt. It's about who should have, and whose stories deserve to be remembered. I'm asking everybody that's listening that can hear my voice right now, pick up the book. I have the book. I love the book. The link is in the description. And remember, in wrestling, not every champion is chosen by the fans, but every fan decides who their champion really is. Well, that was another episode of the Tristen Law Show, hanging out with Dr. David L. Shabazz. He is the author of Pro Wrestling's Black World Champions. Thank you so much, Fernando, Brian, and everybody else for participating in the chat. My name is Tristen Law. He's Dr. Shabazz. This is the Tristen Law Show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Well, I'll see you next time.